Hey everyone, welcome back to 100 Days of Coding React and Redux. So today, if you see here right in front of you, I did a lot of changes behind the scene in our Notes app. So basically, I have made it look beautiful. I have written a lot of CSS for the note taking app. And as this is a React course, I want to save time. I don't want to show you like I have written all that CSS. So all of the CSS which I have written to make this application look a little bit beautiful, I would say. You can go through the code. I'm going to upload this code. The link is in the description, so you can go there and see like I have added a lot of CSS file here, index.css, and for each component I have added different CSS file, which you can go through and you can understand how the CSS has been written and how the application is looking, how it is looking right now. So if you see the structure also I have changed here, right? Little bit structure I have put in the header, right? Header, then we have a, and while doing that, I realized that we should have one more component called note list for rendering the list of nodes here. So I'm going to update my mockups. I mean the structure of the application, right? So as I said, the programming or application building is an iterative process, and it happens, right? You when you start planning your application, you plan something, and as you start writing the code, you realize, okay, you can introduce new components, maybe delete the existing component. So this is how we actually code in real world. So there's nothing wrong, if initially you found out some components, you forgot some component, or you have to introduce new component or delete few of the component. There's nothing wrong in it. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about state management. So today we are going to see like how we are going to manage, or what will be the state in our application, and where we are going to manage the state for our application. Okay, so this is how the component structure or hierarchy of component we have right now in our application. We have the app, right? Inside app I have a header, then the note list component which I'm going to add. I haven't added it. I'm going to add it today. And we have add node component, and inside node we are going to have the list of nodes, right? So for that we have a node component. Now to decide about the state of the application, now you need to ask this question, right? What is the data, or the data which is going to change in our application? First of all, what is the data in our application? So obviously in our application, the data is nothing but the list of nodes which we are showing here, right? And each node is going to have a title and the text, right? And this is nothing but the data in our application. So we are going to have a bunch of nodes, the collection of nodes, and that will become the state of our application, because this is the data which is going to change over time. So when I'm going to add a new node, we need to add that new node into the nodes array. When I'm going to edit any node by clicking on this button, right, I need to update that node inside the nodes array. And similarly, when I'm going to delete any node, right, we need to delete that node from the nodes array. So it's more about create, right, update and delete. All of the operations are going to happen on this nodes array. Now where I'm going to keep this state inside my application? Do you think it will go here inside the node list? Because obviously node list is going to have the list of nodes where I'm going to render all of the node using the node list. But think about it, when I'm going to add a new node, right? So this form has the responsibility of adding a new node. So if I enter something here and when I'm going to submit it, right, how this add node is going to communicate with the node list? So in React, we generally don't communicate between the siblings. So this is level 1, so app component, or I would say this is the level 1, header, node list, and add node. These three components are at level 1 of our application, and node list is nothing but sibling of add node. So we generally don't communicate between the siblings in a React app. It's a good idea to manage your state, which is required by both the components, right? Or both the child component. It's a good idea to put it into the parent. So probably it's a good idea to put our nodes state inside app, right? So app is going to pass these nodes to our node list component, which is going to render all the nodes using one item at a time, right? So one node at a time, something like that, like this. And when add node wants to add a new node, it is going to have a node, right? So it is going to create that node and it's going to pass it to the app, and app is going to add that particular node inside the nodes array. So this is the idea. This is how we are going to do the state management for our application. So let's start building this state for our application, and let's try to add a new node into our nodes array. So the first thing first, I forgot to add one component called node list. So let's first create that component called node list.js. And this is our functional component. I'm going to call it node list. And inside node list, I am going to have all of this node. So I'm going to take this section probably, and I'm going to put it inside my node list. Okay, where I'm going to have all the nodes, probably something like this. And finally, I'm going to export default node list. And let's import node list. And use it here. So now if I go back to our application, compiled with node is not defined, right? So I need to go into node list and I need to import node component here so that it's running. Okay, so I can see the list of nodes. So the node list component we have here, I don't need a node here, so I'm going to remove it from here. And let's start writing the state for our application. For that, on the top, I'm going to import the use state hook of React, and let's create our state. So the state will be the nodes, and we are going to have set nodes function to change that state, use a state, and initially our state is going to have the empty array. So initially we won't be having any node in our application. And this nodes is nothing but what we need to pass to the node list as a prop, and node list is going to render all those nodes. So let's do that. I'm going to pass nodes and nodes. So now inside our node list, it's going to take all those nodes and it's going to render. For now, I'm not going to render anything. Let's generate some data first, and later on we are going to show it inside the node list component. So to add a new node, obviously we need to use this form called add node, right? So inside this, when I'm going to click on this button, we need to grab the values of the title and the text, this text area, right? So obviously we need to have a local state for this component, right? Because we are not going to access the DOM element and grab the value from there. Anytime we want any value from the input, we generally use the state. So again, I'm going to import use state from React, and let's generate a couple of state values here. The first one will be for title, and we are going to have a set title function for that, and use state. Initially, it's going to have the empty value. I'm going to copy and paste this line. Another state will be for the text, and set text use state. Initially, it's going to have the empty value. So let's use the state values here. So I'm going to assign the value equals to, this will be the title, and for text area, the value will be text. So let's say I give some value, hello, or maybe like T1, title 1, and this will be text 1. Let's see if it is working fine. Go to save, and if I go back to my application, see that the value is getting populated, title, T1, and text. Okay, I need to put some padding here, but I'll do that later. Now next, we are going to grab these values, right? When I'm going to submit, I'm going to grab these values and I'll send it back to the application. So let me close some of the components here. I don't need a header also. So I just need the app, right? So and here inside my app, I'm going to have a function which is going to add a new node to our nodes array. So add node. Let's try this. So there is something called on submit, which I'm going to use, and where I'm going to have the function called handle submit. This is a function which I'm going to write here, handle submit. It's going to have the event object. And if you see something I want to show you, right? When I'm going to refresh the application, or maybe let's resize it a bit. And this also I'm going to make small. Let's, so that our application is always open. I'm going to hide this. Now, I'm just going to console.log something here, like handle save, and I can keep the console open for some time. We're getting some errors probably. Okay, we don't have the on change handler. I'm going to add that also. So refresh. Yes. So if I enter something here, probably the change will not work. Right. The change is not working because I have to handle the on change first. So I'm going to expand it a little bit. Then I'm going to make it small. So first, so what is happening here, when I'm trying to type something here, it's not taking because we are not updating the state. So to update the state, we need to write the on change handle. So on change is equals to, I'm just going to call set state function, set title, right? So set title, and let me write it in line using arrow function only. So set title, I can't type today. Set title, and what will be the title? The title will be, we're going to have the event object here. So let's grab that e dot target dot value. So when I'm going to change any value inside the input, right? So the on change event is going to get triggered. It's going to have this e. So as I have the single argument, I'm going to remove the brackets also just to make our code look clean. We get the event object, and this event object has a target property. Inside that we have values. I'm setting the title here. Now if I go back to my application, me to make it small. Now if I type something here like test, see that? Or like title 1, I'm able to type and the state is getting updated. Let's do the same for text also. So I'm going to put it here on change probably. I can try the same thing. E arrow function, and this time I'm going to set the text. I don't know, VS Code is not e dot target dot value. Save, and now say suppose I type something here. Okay, I'm not able to type, still it is not working. So on change, I'm saying set text, set text e dot target dot value. I'm getting the event also, and it's not getting updated. So I'm setting the text. Okay, I need to remove this and this also. So we're not going to have the initial values. Refresh. I'm refreshing, but still it is showing the text. So I did a really silly mistake here. If you see your value and I have given directly text, that's why this text is coming here. And I was wondering why this text is coming. So I need to do something like this. It's text. So I need to use the expression, right? These curly brackets and set text. So now if we go back, we're not getting anything here. I'm able to type my text and I'm able to type my title also. Okay, so this is looking good. Now I'm having both the values. I'm going to grab these values when I'm going to handle submit, right? So I'll show you something. So when I write test, and when I submit, see that this entire page is getting refreshed because this is the default behavior of the form. So when we submit the form, this handle submit function is going to get called. So if you see here, just for a fraction of second, that log is coming and it's going. So I'll show you. So we need to do something called event.prevent default to stop the default behavior of form refresh. So that will prevent the default behavior of form refresh. So now if I refresh and say, suppose I type something here, and if I submit, see that we are getting the handle submit and the form is not getting refreshed because of this line. Okay, so now I'm going to grab these values and I'm going to pass this to my app component. I think I need to do, it will be better, if I keep the entire screen open, that would be better to look at the code. So obviously I'm going to grab the values like the title and the text, and I'm going to pass it to my app component. So now where is my app component? This is my app, right? So app is going to pass something called function prop to add node, so that my add node component can call that function so that I can have the value of the title and text. So let's call it maybe on add node, something like this. This is the prop I'm passing, and here we are going to handle that using handle new node, something like that. Okay, so when we are adding a new node, or let's be more specific, handle add new node. So on add node will be a prop which is coming here. So I'm going to do the destructuring. So what's the name of the prop? On add node. I'm going to copy this and paste it here. So this is the prop I'm getting, and this is the function. So in JavaScript, functions are first class objects, so we can pass function to function. So in React, components are nothing but function, right? And they can take function as a value. So first of all, I'm going to grab the values of the text and title, and I'm going to create a new object out of it, and I'm going to pass that object to on add new node, right? So let's call this function directly on add node, and I'm going to pass it an object which is going to have a title of, I'm going to grab the title, and text will be my node text, right? So on add node, this function is going to call handle add a new node, which I'm going to have here. Let's have this function which is going to get the node as a value, right? So I'm creating that object, right? Which I'm passing. So let's do the console.logs to see whether we are getting the node or not. Save and go back to the application, refresh. Let's try to add a new node. Say I'm going to go short t1 and text 1. Submit. See that? We're getting the object, right, with a title and text. Now this we are going to add inside our nodes state. So to do that, we can call the set nodes where I'm going to pass a new array. So first of all, I'm going to destructure the existing nodes and I'm going to add a new node, right? Because of which, what is going to happen? The nodes is going to get updated, which is going to get passed to the node list, and then we can render all of our nodes. So let's do that quickly. So this is going to have a prop of nodes, right? Node list is going to have the nodes, and we're going to loop through all of these nodes. So I'm going to write a function here, render nodes, and nodes.map, which is going to get each node as an individual value, which is going to return the node, right? And each node, I need to pass the title and text also, right? So let's do that also, because now we are passing the props, one by one. So node is going to have get the title and text. Each node is going to have the title and text, and that is what we are going to render here. So here we are going to have the title, and for the text, we are going to have here inside this paragraph text. Looks good. So we are drilling down into the hierarchy, and each node is going to have the title, which is going to be node dot title, right? And it's going to have the text, which is node dot text. So this node, and to make things look good, we can even try destructuring here. So we can destructure this using the function, and here I'm going to have the title and text, and I can remove the node just to make things simpler. So render nodes, it's going to loop through each node individually. It's going to generate the node, and now instead of this, you can remove it and can just say render nodes. I think that's it. Let's see if everything works fine. Saved everything probably. So now if I need to just expand my application now. If I refresh, you won't be able to see any node here, right? So we don't have any node. Let's try to add the first node, text with text one. I'm going to close this for now, submit. See that? That node has been added with the title of T1 and the text of text one. And we have the edit and delete button also. So we did a lot of changes. I think I have this video is getting longer, I know. So we did a lot of things, right? We have created the state, right? We have created the state nodes, state for our application, right? And have passed that state to our node list component also. Then inside add node, I have created a couple of state values, title and text. And we did some changes related to on change, right? Just to update the state values. And we are grabbing those state values and we are passing it back to the parent component, right? On add node, which is inside my app, because I need to grab the node value from the form like we did. I'll show you, right? We need to pass this node. So the new node, the creation of new node is the responsibility of my add node component. So it's going to create a new node. It's going to pass it to my app component, and which is going to update the nodes array. That's what we are doing here. That's what I'm trying to do by writing this code. So we are setting the nodes, we are grabbing the old nodes, right? Destructuring it and adding a new node into it. And once the nodes value is getting updated, because it's a state value, my component is going to get re-rendered and node list is going to get updated and it's going to render the new nodes. Let's try to add one more just for testing and submit. See that we're having the another node also. Okay, so I think the add node functionality is working in the right direction, I would say. I'm going to stop here. In the next part of the video, we'll continue to build this application. Probably I'll pick up the new feature and I'm going to add that new feature into our note taking app. Okay, so I think it is helpful. I'm going to see you in the next video. Until then, you take care. Goodbye. And thanks for watching the video.